Welcome back, YouTubers, preppers, and homesteaders. Today we are going to be talking about generators and being what happened in Texas a few weeks ago with people freezing, not being able to heat up their homes. I felt that this would be an appropriate video to give you a guide of things to look for when you're looking for a generator. Be it needing supplemental power for your RV or to power your home in a grid down situation, we are going to go through 7 points to look for in a generator. Before we get started, if you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up to get this channel going. It really helps the channel grow, and we want to get as much information out there to the viewers as possible. Number 1, the options you have available. You have 4 options to start with. You have gas, diesel, propane, or solar. All do the same thing, however, we are going to go through each one to give you the pros and cons of each fuel type so that you can decide what suits your needs. Generator size. What you need to start off with is going to be how much power do you require to power your certain devices and equipment in a time of need, and when is that power required. All devices use a certain amount of power or watts to power them. So you're going to look at each device and look at how much power each one requires, and this is measured in watts. All devices require a certain amount of power to run them. So you should look at each device that you are looking to run in your RV or in a grid down situation and look at how many watts each of those devices use. For example, a microwave uses about 1,000 watts to operate, and a hairdryer uses about 1,000 watts as well. Now, would you rather warm up your food or dry your hair? Now that depends on who I'm asking, doesn't it? A refrigerator uses about 800 watts when cooling the refrigerator, but 0 watts when it's maintaining the cooling inside the refrigerator. Calculate everything that you are going to require in your situation and add them up, and that'll be your total amount of wattage that you require, and that'll be the minimum size of generator that you'll be looking to purchase. When choosing a generator, you have 2 different wattages to choose from. You have running watts and you have surge watts. Running watts will tell you how much the generator will be able to produce on a consistent basis, or what is known as running watts. And your surge watts will tell you how much your generator can produce when you're starting up a certain piece of equipment or a device. Number 2, noise. Depending on where you live or when you will be using your generator, noise may become a consideration on the type of generator you will choose. Do you live in the suburbs? You may want to consider a generator that emits less noise than if you live in a rural area where noise does not matter as much. Also, if you are in a grid down situation, you may also want to consider a quieter generator, because in desperate times will cause for desperate measures, and you may not want to advertise to everyone that you have a generator. A fossil fuel generator can produce anywhere from 75 dB or decibels to 120 decibels. This could be reduced if you place a generator inside a shelter that you have built for it to minimize the noise levels. Solar power will produce very little noise and will be produced by your inverter that you typically have inside your house. This option is best if you are worried about noise. Number 3, portability. You will also need to consider how portable you want the generator. Do you want one for camping that you can just toss in the back of your pickup truck or camper? You might want a generator that is your backup system for your entire house. In this case, you're going to need a larger generator that is in a fixed location. Obviously, this is a choice you are going to need to make depending on your needs. Number 4, fuel storage. Most people don't realize that fuel, being a refined product, has a finite lifespan. In fact, keep fuel too long and at some point the fuel will degrade to the point that it is no longer able to produce combustion needed to power cars, trucks, or generators. Let's look at the 4 different fuel options we have available. Gasoline. Gasoline is highly refined and highly volatile and needs to be stored in proper conditions and away from the house in proper containers. For homesteaders and preppers, gasoline has a short shelf life and not usually preferred. However, in some circumstances, you may not have a choice. When properly stored, gasoline can last between 3 to 6 months depending on the ethanol content. You can help gasoline last longer by adding fuel stabilizers to it before storing, and you could extend it up to 1 year by using the proper stabilizers. Diesel. Diesel is a fuel that undergoes a relatively low level of refinement. It is not as volatile as gasoline, and without treatment, diesel will last 1 year with no problems at all. It's just an inherently stable product. When treated with fuel stabilizers, the life of diesel fuel can be extended beyond 5 years. The main enemies of diesel fuel storage are algae and water. Both gasoline and diesel need to be stored in cool, dark places in topped up containers with little airspace as possible to prevent water buildup. Propane. Propane is one of the gases that results after refining crude oil. There are propane tanks with varying capacities. Most common propane tanks that most of you would know is a 20-pound or barbecue tank. This is the most common tank. However, you may also purchase small camping tanks as well as large tanks such as this 100-pound tank that you can see right here. Propane does not degrade, and because this gas knows no degradation, it can last you for well over 10 years. Just make sure the vessel and gas is stored in a properly cared for. Solar. With solar power, you store the energy in batteries. These batteries vary from lead acid to lithium-ion batteries, depending on what your budget is. The amount of energy that these batteries can hold depends on a couple things. Number one, how many batteries do you have? The more batteries you have, the more you can store. However, these batteries are not cheap. Number two, how much power you are using and how fast the batteries are depleted. Typically, you want to use most of your energy from your batteries as they are getting charged by the solar panels, and reduce your load overnight to sustain the charge. Batteries purchased from new can last you 25 to 30 years depending on the care of these batteries. Number 5, grid down situation or SHTF. During a grid down or a major event, getting gas, diesel, and propane due to high demand and infrastructure delivery problems, there will be lineup for all these fuels, and once they are gone, you will be stuck. With solar and battery backup systems, storage of your energy will be infinite, as long as you budget your usage accordingly compared to your input. This means that you do not want to use or do certain tasks during cloudy days or at night when you are not bringing in a charge, where the opposite is true when the sun is shining. Number 6, maintenance. For most gas generators, it is important to start up your generators once a month and let them run for a few minutes to ensure everything running and that the carb does not get plugged up. Whereas diesel generators are typically larger, you may need to do more maintenance, such as oil changes and such. With solar generators, they just need a complete charge periodically to ensure the batteries stay in optimal conditions. Usually this is done between 30 and 60 days. Number 7, safety. Gasoline, diesel, and propane generators need to be at a safe distance from your home or RV to operate properly due to the emissions that they do create. It is very common to hear people dying inside their homes or garage from running generators or their cars inside from incorrectly running the equipment without ventilation. With proper generators, you don't have the problems you do with the fossil fuels. Just make sure to position your panels where they can get as much sunlight as possible, and you can store your batteries and charge controllers inside or outside the house with very little to be worried about. Your decision on what options you choose to have will depend on all these factors, as well as where you live. For example, if you live in an apartment, your options are very limited. As for costs, this will also vary depending on the needs and the type of systems you decide to install. You can pick up a small gasoline generator for as little as a couple $100, or you can install a massive solar system that will run you to the thousands. The choice is yours, but be sure to make a choice while you still have a choice, because the last thing you want is not to have a generator when you need one. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully you got some value out of this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care and stay safe.